Hey guys, it's Cayley. I am back with another What Sold from Last Week video. Sales have been going pretty good. I'm going to dive right into them. I have tons of stuff that's been selling and I have noticed a pattern in my sales as well. So let's hop right in. All right, so the sales we'll be going over today happened between April 27th through May 3rd. I cannot believe that we are in May already. Time is flying by so fast. In total, I sold 178 items for gross item sales of $5,373.70. My average item sale price ended up being a little over $30. We have been running a lot of sales. We're trying to flush out a lot of older items and reduce size of inventory right now and move forward with better items. So to be expected when you run a lot of sales, your average sale price is probably going to decrease. But nonetheless, still had some awesome sales despite that. On eBay, I sold 141 items for an average item sale price of close to $31. And then on eBay, on Poshmark, I sold 37 items, really small amount on Poshmark for an average sale price of around $28. I will tell you guys, I did notice an error on my spreadsheet. So this after shipping cost number has been a little bit off. So I corrected it and we're going to move forward with any future videos. But I think the last couple of videos are slightly messed up because of that. But we're corrected now and we're moving forward. So let's dive into some of these individual sales. Like I said, I did notice some patterns of things and I'll share with you what those are, but I'm happy to see these sales going up, even with a lower average sale price, because of running sales. All right, first up, this was a really excellent sale. We paid up for this. I paid $12.50. It is by the brand Antica Sartoria. I've sold this brand in the past. They make some pretty high quality items, so it really just depends on what it is. Not everything sells. That's true for anything, right? But this particular item or items was a set. It is very, very on trend, very cottage core, very feminine, romantic, and it is a beautiful set. I listed this for $150. It did have a couple of small flaws and it sold for our full asking price of $150. This one took about a month and a half to sell. Also in today's video, you're going to see some items that we reworked. So this would be one of those items, meaning I originally had it listed, it sat and sat and sat. And so we ended it and refreshed the listing to give it another chance to sell. This is an Affliction blazer. So one of the reasons it didn't sell in the first place is because we did not have the back as the cover photo initially. So it just looked like this, which doesn't really scream, Y2K. It doesn't show all of the major details that a buyer would look for that's going to increase the value of that item. And so that was our first mistake. But we got it ended and we reworked the title. You can see a bunch of keywords we used here: rockabilly, grunge, Y2K, biker. And then in addition to that, I've been playing around with some AI tools, mainly because I'm trying to do an AI call in the Resellers Edge group because my members have asked me, how to use AI for the business. So I've been playing around with a couple of different tools myself before I do that call, just to kind of get an idea of what it's like. And one of the things I know you can do is put clothing on an AI model. So I have been testing that out and I have been loving it. And obviously I'm not doing it on every item, but I thought I would test it out for ones that I am reworking. So this was an example of one of those. You got to really fidget with it to get all of the details. But once I put this up, I made it the cover photo. It sold almost immediately after that. So I do attribute that to not only reworking it and refreshing it, but getting this cover photo changed. And I made sure to tell the AI that I was using that I wanted the back of the item to be the cover photo. And I thought it looked excellent. I do think that this is what sold this item so quickly after getting it listed again. So I listed this one and hiked the price back up to $75 and it sold within, let's see here, just 6 days after getting it relisted for our full asking price of $75. I originally paid $650 for this one. Next up, this is another really excellent brand to look for. Very high sell-through rate in almost everything. Very niche brand. You're not going to come across it often, but when you do, I would definitely pick it up. It is Relwyn. This is one of those brands that's sold on the Huckberry website. You guys know I talk about that often. If you don't go onto that website pretty frequently, they're constantly adding new brands. And so there's a lot of bolos on there, especially in the men's department. I would definitely check it out, huckberry.com. But this is one of the brands that's sold on there. So this is Relwyn. I paid up for this item because that's how confident I am in this brand. I think we bought it through a wholesaler for $18. So Relwyn men's flannel button-up shirts. I listed this for $100 and it sold on an offer to watcher for $85. If you guys are new here, I frequently send out 15% off offers to watchers for anybody watching my items in bulk multiple times a day. So that's where that discount came from. So $85 for this, which was 15% off. And this one sold within a couple months after being listed. Next up, another thing to look for, not everything in this brand, but certain pieces. St. John, especially their Santana knits and their career pieces. So blazers, pants, things like that. Even still, I price very competitively with this brand, but you can get a decent chunk of money if you list it correctly. You can also see some of the keywords we use for this. So this one sold pretty darn fast for St. John. I listed this St. John Santana knit blazer for $60. It did sell for our full asking price. I paid $12. And this one this one sold the same day we listed it. So super, super quick. Sometimes with these St. John pieces, it just really takes the right buyer. And so I have sat even on Santana knit for a while on certain pieces. So I've just learned to price super competitively with this brand. This one also had a few small flaws as well. So another reason for pricing decrease, but potential brand you might want to get, especially in Santana knit. All right, next up, I have been searching for these for many, many years now. They are J. Crew blazers, both women's and men's. Perform very well for me and my store. I just really think I've got that buyer figured out. And also, I saw that gingham was trending. Now, I think this is a micro trend, so I don't think it's going to like sustain for a long period of time. So don't go out and buy everything gingham. But I did notice that gingham is trending right now. And so this gingham plaid blazer, which was also new with tags, I had listed for $70. This sold on an offer to watcher for $59. We picked this up from the bin, so we probably paid a couple of bucks. So 2 into about 60 is amazing. And this one also only took about a week to sell. Next up, I'm actually going to show you quite a bit of shoes, more than normal today. We're still selling shoes. We just don't pick up a lot of them simply because I'm just really focused on condition when it comes to shoes. I don't want to have to put a lot of work into them. And there's only certain brands I get these days anyways. This is one of them, Hoka One One. Pretty much anything as long as the tread is still there seems to sell well, but obviously look up the style with the size and all of that stuff to make sure you're getting the most out of your item. These ones definitely had some wear. They were a pair of women's Bondi 8 size 10 sneakers. I listed these at $50 due to the wear, and they sold for my full asking price of $50. They took, let's see here, looks like they only took a couple of weeks to sell for that full asking price of $50. But anytime I see this brand, I always first check the tread and make sure there's not chunks missing out of it, and then go from there. And it's usually a pretty good flip. This is going to be a major theme in my solds and probably for you guys too. If you're listing anything with linen in it, it is selling so well. There's quite a few pieces that I listed back in winter that were linen that have waited until now to sell as we're moving into that season. Ton of stuff selling. So lots of brands that you wouldn't normally get with lower sell-through rates. If they're linen, I'd probably look them up because you might be able to factor stack with them. This is a really excellent brand. It's called A Piece Apart. Does not have a super high sell-through rate. However, their pieces do retail for a lot, and some of their pieces do sell for quite a bit. I think we overshot the original price of this one. We're listing, high-end linen piece in the middle of winter. So I think it was originally priced at like 125 or best offer. I've since dropped the price because it sat, and I ended up accepting an offer of $50. It's been several months and I want to get the item moving. So the buyer got a great deal. I only paid $650, so I got my money back quickly. And lesson learned, when stuff has a lower sell-through rate, I need to price way more competitively. Once items go past 90 days, we usually slap best offer onto them, and we're willing to take, I won't say any offer, but as long as it's reasonable, pretty reasonable offers, as long as we are making our money back and then some to get items out the door. I've been really aggressive with offers recently just to keep things moving. And my goal is to not have anything in my store that is older than 6 months. And then once we achieve that, I'll start moving towards 90 days. So that'll be interesting and exciting, but that's why I'm accepting these offers. Like I said, this one did take several months to sell, and I accept a much slower offer of $50 just to get it moving, but still, linen pieces. You're going to see a ton of them in today's video. All right, next up, this is also one I'm pretty proud of just because it is a style-based piece, and I'm becoming, I don't want to say more riskier, but more tolerant to risk when it comes to these style-based pieces because I feel like I have them figured out. So it used to be that I would only pick up the longer length dresses with tons of factors. Now that those have all been selling and I feel like I got the customer figured out, I'm like, okay, what's one factor I can get rid of and still attempt to sell a great style-based piece? And so now I'm playing around with shorter length dresses, which is a little bit riskier, but it's paying off for me. I was still running that 30% off dress sale because I didn't realize that I actually put the wrong date for the end date. So some of the dresses this past week actually ended up at the beginning of the week being in that dress sale. So 30% off is what I ran. This one got hooked into that. I originally listed this Y2K speechless dress, very velvet burnout, like whimsy goth style. We used Hoko for homecoming and Y2K. Listed this for $65. It got caught up in that dress sale and sold on the 30% off for $45, which is still pretty amazing for a shorter length Y2K dress like this for $45, especially when it's nowhere near homecoming season. This one actually only took 9 days to sell, which was super surprising. Okay, next up, this one did take several months to sell. It is the brand Kuyana, kind of a smaller, more niche brand, I would say, but they make pretty good material clothing, so their stuff is usually sustainable, ethical is like what they're known for. An indication that might be a brand you want to look at, besides organic, it was made in Peru, another indicator to look it up. And these were a pair of women's joggers, so a substantial piece. I was like, let's factor stack this. I listed it high just because retail is high. Again, I shouldn't have done that because sell-through rate was lower, and it ended up selling on a dropped price of $41. We paid $650, so still super happy with that. $650 into $41, and it did take, like I said, several months to sell. Next up, I've been selling a ton of vintage denim stuff, especially if it has a very like country aesthetic to it. So that's kind of how I've been marketing all of these things, and it's paying off for me. In the last video you guys saw, I think it was a vintage Guess denim dress, I think. Also similar aesthetic that sold really quickly. So style-based stuff, vintage denim. It still has to look modern enough for someone to wear it, but it's performing well for me, I guess is what I'll say. I listed this for $35, even with where it sold for my full asking price of $35. And because it's a brand most people would overlook and it's a style-based piece alone, it was priced very low at the thrift store for $3.99. So $3.99 into $35. I'll do that all day long. And this one only took 10 days to sell. Next up, another style-based piece. This one did take several months to sell as well. It is a pair of Y2K women's vintage reef sandals. I love selling Y2K shoes. Indications that this was Y2K was the square toe, and then it had like a wooden sole. That's not always an indicator, but it could be, is what I'm saying. Very cool Y2K aesthetic to them. I listed them originally around $50 and dropped the price. I accepted an offer of $35. Like I said, this one did take a few months to sell. All right, this one was a very surprising flip. So this is a Y2K Old Navy 100% linen Y2K baby doll tank top. So tons of keywords could have been used on this, a lot of which didn't fit in the title, but we tried to use the best ones that we could. We actually listed this for $40, which I know to you guys probably sounds crazy, an Old Navy tank top, $40, but it had a lot of stuff piled on top of it that is just really trendy right now. So listed this for 40. It actually sold in a bundle of some other Y2K items. So the buyer got about 20% off, I believe, off of, each individual item. So what would that be? That'd be about $32 this tank top sold for. And this one actually only took about a week to sell, which is pretty awesome. Paid $566 for this one. Next up, another Y2K piece. This is Polo Ralph Lauren. Ralph Lauren Y2K stuff selling pretty well. Ralph Lauren modern stuff, if it's like an old money aesthetic, selling pretty well. This one was definitely Y2K because it was like very terry cloth material, so it felt like a towel. Logos, definitely screaming Y2K. Listed this one for $35. It sold for my full asking price of $35, and this one only took a few days to sell. Here is one you guys would have seen recently. I think it was I don't know if it was a thrift with me or a thrift haul. I think it was thrift with me, but I mentioned, hey, I came across this. The sell-through rate's not super great on this item, but the ones that are selling for quite a bit. So I'm just going to price mine lower strategically. I wanted to test out selling this brand. So it's called Winter King. It was a flannel from the 60s, which was pretty cool. Main reason I wanted to try selling it out. Do you guys just ever do that? You're like, this is bad advice. Don't do this all the time. But if you're like, I just really want to try selling this brand because I want to get to know this customer and I want to see if the words that I'm using help to sell the item. So that's kind of my reasoning behind it. If you do that all the time without a bunch of data to back it up, that's how people end up with death piles and items that aren't selling. So don't do that all the time, but certain pieces I just want to try out to test it out with the buyer. I think they're good experiments. So this was one of those, and it did sell very quickly. So I'm happy with that. Listed this for $35. It did have a small tear in the back, but we promoted it to the right customer, which was important. Paid $5, sold for my full asking price of $35. This one actually sold the exact same day that we listed it. So very powerful keywords there, very powerful price point. Next up, this was another bins item. This is one of the few bra brands that I still get. It is SheFit, and even within SheFit, I only get the sports bras, the adjustable ones. This one was a larger size as well. We listed this for $30 and it sold for our full asking price of $30. This one only took a few days to sell. SheFit is a very thick, the ones that you should look for are the very thick sports bras, and then they have Velcro, don't use that word on eBay, but Velcro hook and loop adjustable straps. So that's how you can know that it's SheFit or at least see it, and it usually has a spell out as well. All right, next one. This one sat for quite a while, probably because we listed it fall last year, but this is Allison Taylor, not a brand I would memorize, but it's a Y2K older label silk skirt. So this one had a lot of like fairy aesthetic to it, Y2K, floral print. I think we just priced it too high. So I think I originally had this price at around $50. It ended up dropping the price and we accepted an offer of $33 now in the right season. So 5 and 233. Had I priced it correctly initially, it would have sold quicker. So still kind of learning the style-based pricing, and by learning I mean I've got it figured out, but I'm inching the price up with my customers to see where their cap is for items like this, and we obviously reached the cap with that on this item. All right, next up, some more linen stuff. This is Garnet Hill. I do like picking up linen stuff in Garnet Hill. This was also factor stacked with the fact that it's wide leg, pull on. Lots of good keywords on this one. It listed this for $30. It sold for our full asking price of $30. We paid about $5 for it, and this one took a month to sell. Next up, a completely Y2K top. Do not memorize this brand, but it is a Y2K label, a very Y2K style. Great stuff going for it. Listed this for $35. It sold for my full asking price of $35. And the great thing, again, about style-based stuff is no name brand, so your thrift store's not going to price it up. I paid $3 for this. Listed it for $35. Sold for full asking price. This only took a week to sell, which is awesome. Another linen piece, this is Bryn Walker, which can be a good brand to look for in linen stuff. This one I also priced probably too high for winter. Took several months to sell, but it ended up selling on an offer for $32. I would definitely be picking up this brand in linen stuff right now as we're starting to come into that linen season. This is a men's brand I still like picking up. I'm just a little bit more picky on it, and I try to focus on the more substantial pieces. It is Bylt, B-Y-L-T. This one is a hoodie, so a more substantial piece. This one sold for a dropped price of $27, and this one did take a while to sell. Sell-through rate on this has gone down, but their pants and some of their more substantial pieces can do well. Like I said, probably priced too high in the beginning. This is another brand that has a very high sell-through rate. It is Taylor Stitch. This one is probably one of the more popular men's brands right now, so definitely keep your eye out for it. This one, for whatever reason, sat for me. It was linen and tinsel. It ended up selling on an offer for $30 in several months. This is an interesting piece. This is a Y2K Abercrombie piece. This was lacking a lot of the Y2K factors that I know a lot of people are looking for. And so because of that, I priced it a little bit lower, even though it was Abercrombie. I listed this for $30. It sold for my full asking price. It did take a couple of months to sell. Probably again, because even though it's Abercrombie and it's Y2K, it just did not contain, that look that people are searching for in the Y2K community. All right, I am starting to sell a bunch of Old Navy dresses again. If you guys missed it, last year Old Navy was my best selling brand, my number one selling brand last year, which I would have never have guessed at the beginning of 2024, but it ended up being my best selling brand. A lot of those were dresses, and so I've really got that customer figured out. We got this dress from the bins. Almost no one's looking for Old Navy. This one is actually a more plain dress. Probably would not have picked this up except that it was at the bins. Listed this for $40. It sold on our 30% off sale for around $28. Bins pricing probably $2 into $28. I'll do that all day long, especially with a brand like Old Navy that no one is looking for. All right, next up, another linen piece. This is J. Crew linen, a specific linen company called Baird McNutt. They're known for their linen fabrics. When you see them paired with another brand, I would definitely look it up and make sure to include all of that in your comping. But J. Crew, Baird McNutt stuff in general performs very well for me, and just J. Crew men's linen button-up shirts in general. Really quick, easy flip, $25, $30. This one I listed for $30 and it did sell for our full asking price. We also got this one from the bins, and this one took a couple of months to sell. All right, this is another linen item. This is banana blue. Don't know anything about this brand, made in Australia, but linen jacket, log and look, oversized piece, lots of factor stacking there. Listed this for $30. It did sell for our full asking price, and this one only took about a month and a week to sell. So linen, use it to factor stack, and you could be passing right over profitable pieces just because you don't know how valuable linen is right now. Here's another linen piece. This is a Talbot's plus size linen sweater. This ended up taking several months to sell. It did end up selling for a dropped price of $27. So not only tops, but linen sweaters are selling as well. And even though we are moving into warmer weather, we are also still selling some winter items. So there are a lot of items that still pull through at any time of the year. Patagonia snap pullovers, for me at least, are always one of them. This is a women's size large, great condition, collar block, lightweight fleece. I priced this competitively again just because we are moving into summer. Listed this one for 30. It sold for my full asking price of 30 and it only took 2 days to sell, which I would much rather drop the price now than wait several months, like 6 months from now, to sell it in the middle of winter. So it's a strategy that I'm using. I would rather sell items quickly, get money back, and reinvest. Here is another Y2K style skirt. No name brand, just marketed this and it had the overall aesthetic. I listed this skirt for $27. It sold the next day, so very quickly, for my full asking price of $27. If you guys don't want to keep passing on items like this where it doesn't really matter the brand, it's all about the style, how to market to the right buyer and how to get them to flip super quickly and at prices that you would have, never expected, consider joining Resellers Edge University Pro today. We have hundreds, literally hundreds of videos available. As soon as you start membership, you'll have access to all of the replays that we've ever done in Resellers Edge Pro. We have tons of videos, deep diving aesthetics, telling you exactly what to look for, exactly how to list them, what the top bolos are within each of those. So definitely keep your eye out for pieces like this. And if you want to learn more and just fast pass that, like, you could be a style-based pro within the next week. So consider joining if you're interested. I know you guys have had a lot of questions about that. The link is in the description as always. And we do more, obviously, than just focus on style-based stuff, but it is one of the things that we focus on. All right, next up, this is a brand bolo, which is Free Fly. They make a lot of their stuff out of bamboo, which you see bamboo stuff could be an indicator of a brand you might want to look up. Also skirts. Skirts are coming back in season. Tennis core is very trendy. It's very preppy. I listed this for $25. It sold for full asking price of $25 and it took about 3 weeks to sell. Lastly, this is one of my favorite brands to get in plus sizes. It is J. Jill, but specifically Pure Jill. That line seems to elevate this pretty plain t-shirt sold for our full asking price of $25. This is an easily overlooked item. This one took a couple of months to sell. It's a very specific top by J. Jill called the elliptical tee, but in general, J. Jill plus sizes sell very well for me. All right, moving on to some of the Poshmark sales. I actually had some decent Poshmark, like higher price sales this past week. This is a newer brand to me. It is they're like known for their compression stuff. It is the brand CWX. I don't have a lot of like brand labels to show you. They're kind of like Fanka, where you just kind of have to know what it looks like and know what the logo looks like, which is right here. But these are the Cool Max high-rise tights. They did have some wear to them, but they ended up selling very, very quickly for an offer to watcher of $37. So if you guys come across any kind of leggings where you're seeing that they're like super thick but kind of compression-y, Google Lens them if you don't see a tag, and usually that stuff will pop up for you. This is another vintage item. This is the brand Eric Javits. I don't know a whole lot about that, but I can tell you that vintage hats, especially like bucket style hats, which is a very like 90s Y2K thing, can be very valuable depending on what you have. This is a very on-trend item. It ended up selling for an offer of $58. $58 for a pre-owned hat, and definitely something that people pass on. All right, some more shoes for you. These are some indoor court shoes. I think they could be used across different sports, but they are like indoor court sports called Babolat, I think is how you pronounce them. But good brand to look for. These sold on an offer for $38. This one's more bread and butter, but it's often overlooked and it's one you can find pretty quickly at the bins or on sale somewhere. It is Hanra of Switzerland. They use very soft, nice materials is why people like them, and I usually find them in the pajama sleepwear section. 20 to 30 bucks depending on what it is. This one is just like a nightgown t-shirt kind of thing, oversized t-shirt. It sold on an offer for 20. Here is some more linen. This is a good brand to look for in linen. It is Poetry. This one is a linen jacket, blazer style, and it sold on an offer for 41. Another linen piece. This is a very old Eileen Fisher linen long length dress. It sold on an offer for $50. This was a surprisingly quick sale. This is the brand Attenti. I don't know much about this brand, but what I can tell you is that people list them very, very high. The sell-through rate is very, very low on these, but the ones that do sell for a lot. So we gave it a chance on this one, which we don't always do. We felt like the style was really good. So made in USA, very, very trendy, I would say, kind of like a boho style. We listed this, I think, for close to $100 and accepted an offer of $75 on this bag. So I'm glad we took the risk on that. It is a more substantial piece. I definitely would not be risking it on a less substantial piece. Like I said, the more time you commit to a risk, if you do that over and over again, then your business isn't really on a business model plan. It's just whatever you decide to risk and pick up that day, if that makes sense. So I like to limit my risk, but here's some risks that did pay off. Here's another brand I would be looking for spring and summer. It is Zarina. They tend to make very gauzy stuff. This is an oversized gauzy dress, and this sold on an offer for $43. This is one I showed very recently, and I'm not sure if a viewer about this because I know somebody was interested. If this was you that purchased it, then thank you so much. This is a vintage Christian Dior like lingerie looking top. So if you guys aren't already shopping the intimate section, the sleepwear, the bra section, there can be really unique gems that are hiding in there that nobody looks at because they just don't go to that section. So vintage designer stuff would definitely be one of those things that you would want to look for. And just in general, regardless of brand, corset tops like this are something that people are wearing in an outfit, whether layered or by itself. So it's just something to look for and be aware of. And then of course the brand's obviously going to elevate that. I don't remember exactly what we listed this item for. I think it was like 85 maybe. Anyways, it sold for $70. Imagine if you're just walking right by $70 things in the bra section because you just don't go there. And they're very tiny too. So stuff like this can fall to the bottom of the Goodwill outlet bins. Just keep your eyes out for it. You do have to know how to list it with the right keywords, but excellent sale here. Probably my favorite one this week. All right, some more shoes for you. This is still a brand I love selling in shoes. Again, really focused on condition on clouds. So this is a pair of women's Nexus on clouds. The style and size, condition, colorway in shoes in general is going to make a big difference in comps. I accepted an offer of $40 for these shoes, and the only real indicator of it is the ON. So you definitely have to know that brand, and this is typically what the tread looks like as well. Here's another Zarina item. Again, they're known for their gauzy stuff, which these are a pair of gauzy pants. These sold for $50 pre-owned. And here's another linen piece. This is a good example of how lower end brand, but factor stacking can elevate something into a price that you might be happy with. So this is a Kelly green, popular color, button-up top, adds value, linen, and an otherwise brand people wouldn't pick up, which is Zara, and it sold for $25. And lastly, another pair of shoes. These are on clouds as well. Again, you got to know that logo. Here is that tread, even though it's a different style, and these sold on an offer for $45. All right, you guys, so that is it for what sold last week. I hope that sales are picking up for you as well. Let me know how it's going down in the comments below. Hope you learned some bolos today. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!